Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. I don't know why it's so dark, but it is dark, huh? Maybe my phone will lighten up. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good evening and a good start to the 4th of July weekend. And I hope everybody stays safe this weekend. And we're going to talk about party on, dude. I'm talking about you want to piss the other side off, go out and enjoy your country's birthday. And wear every color you can, like they like to have their rainbow flags and stuff. Be dressed up like our flag. By the way, party on, dude. That's what we're going to talk about. So, anyway, I got to do a live stream off of on my other channel today. I finally got 50 subscribers on that channel, and you got to wait 24 hours. Yeah, but I got to go live streaming on that. I thought it was pretty cool. I like live streaming. That channel, of course, is starting off really slow. Very few comments and stuff. But I like the doing the live format better. I like interacting with the chat and stuff, and you never know where it's going to take you. So anyway, I sure appreciate everybody being here. But I see some hearts going. But yeah, I got to do my first live stream on my prepping channel. Pretty cool. It's nice when you grow no matter how hard the powers that be don't want you to be heard. I don't know why this is so dark, but it sure is. Anyway, yeah, we got a wonderful weekend coming up. I tell you what, everybody needs to stay safe. Tell you what, we need to party on, but everybody needs to stay safe. Have your third eye and your sixth sense going to know the danger around you. You may actually be in a position where you understand what the Declaration of Independence means and fighting. Anyway, things could get crazy. Well, how's it going, Con? Anyway, let's get into the subject. Party on, dude. Remember, now we weren't allowed to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, us patriots and stuff. We weren't allowed to have a taco that day. This is our day, the 4th of July. And, we all like tacos, but we all like a cheeseburger made on the grill. Some sweet corn made on the grill. I don't understand why. Here we go. Okay. Let's move this over a bit. I don't know why that was so dark there. Can you see me better now? Appreciate. Yeah, I was looking at that. But party on, dude. I'm talking dress yourself up. Not in the pride flag, of course, but colors of the American flag. Show everybody that you're American. You're a strong alpha male or alpha female American. That you're hardworking American. That you contribute to I wouldn't say our country's growing, but at least to our country still existing, okay? And especially the American taxpayer, he should be proud because they're paying for everything. Remember, now they're saying because of that USA aid cut that all of a sudden all these people are dying all over the world. So you're sitting there telling me, just on a sidetrack, that the American taxpayer is responsible to make sure that everybody in the world exists, that can exist, their welfare. I don't think that's what the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence was about. I really don't. That was about definitely not accepting a system like that. But, yeah, go out and party, man. Have your barbecues. If you're at a big event, if you are in a big city, in a big event, just especially with your family, these people, there's a lot of people out there that I think could want to cause hate and discontent. And you got your No Kings rally tomorrow. I mean, that's one group of people, obviously handsome. Oh, I appreciate that. I don't know. It gets them in, but when I tell them that My dream is to live in a dugout next to the stream with my dogs and horses. Next one. You know, people will spend months building a log cabin, 4 or 5 months building a log cabin. You know what kind of dugout I could have in 4 or 5 months? Oh my God. I could have a hobbit house with bedroom and a main room with a fireplace and, oh, be a nice little place underground. But anyway, you start talking like that, you'll be like, oh, I still got a ringer washer from the 1950s and stuff. I don't know. That's why I'm alone. What was the best day in your life? The best day in my life, where I felt a feeling that I've never felt before that, and a feeling I never felt since then. That would have been the first time when I came back from overseas. We were on ship for 6 months, doing our thing. And when we pulled into Morehead City, North Carolina, and we were docking, the ship was docking, and coming on deck, and that feeling I got, I can't describe it. It was an incredible feeling. And I never got it when I came back to the United States from being overseas again after that. But that first time, going into Morehead City and docking and getting off the ship and stuff, it was just an incredible feeling. I'm concerned if people don't like me. Do you have any advice? Yeah, be yourself. If they don't like you for you being yourself, who gives a shit? This is the thing, people. If you are confident in yourself, you can look in the mirror and be confident with yourself and know you're a good person and you do everything you can. And just, you don't have to be a number 10 model or nothing like that. This is why I can get on YouTube and I get a lot of people that say derogatory things to me. But it doesn't bother me because I'm comfortable in my own skin. I realize I may be a little out on the fringe. Oh yeah, I'm a Marine. I was, we charge machine gun nests and stuff. Yeah, you're probably going to be a little not like a normal civilian. Okay, that's why you have boot camp and all your infantry schools and stuff, because they're not trying to turn you into a normal civilian. But I really don't care about that no more. I stopped worrying about what people thought of me because everybody thought bad of me, so I didn't really matter. But you got to be comfortable in yourself. Make yourself, like I always live by a rule, I try to be a better person today than I was yesterday. And that's a rule I live by every day. I try to do a good deed every day so I can feel good about myself. Try to sit there and put a smile on somebody's face instead of trying to find, like these YouTube trolls, a way to upset somebody. How's that going to make the world a safer place? But if the Marines won the big one in the Desert Storm, it was just, this is the thing why I get so excited. Because when we were overseas, I asked once, why the hell are we over here doing this shit? And they said, and this was during when Reagan was in office. And they told me, so it doesn't come to the United States and the American people got to deal with it. Well, welcome to 38 years later. And they tell me not to get excited. We have Idaho firefighters getting cut down by, I don't believe the story behind that, but chopped down. I believe there was more to it. We got families that are losing their daughters because they're getting raped and killed by illegals. I mean, we're allowing a foreign army in. Military-aged men. Go out and party. We need to show our strength tomorrow. We need to show America, the patriots. Our protest? Our protest is going to be out having a blast and partying on, dude, on the 4th of July. That'll be our protest, like no kings, July 4th, 1776. No kings. And it was an awesome party for 5 years after that, right? But we won. We got our asses kicked at first, but we won. I can't stand the Patriots since Brady left. That's why I'm on YouTube. Because you get guys, those are the comments I like. I tell you what, I remember back in 1987 watching the Super Bowl when the 1986, I'm sorry, when the Bears went against the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year, and the Patriots just got their asses handed to them and stuff. The Bears, anyway, that was just a year for the Bears. It was an incredible year. You had the Fridge and Walter Payton and that McMahon, or yeah, McMahon, that was his name, wasn't it? But yeah, the Patriots turned out to be a killer team. But I tell you what, when you guys coming from, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, and coming from when you guys picked up Randy Moss, because I said when he was with the Vikings, he will never get a Super Bowl ring because he was such a cocky bastard. Not that he wasn't a good football player, but I say he'll never get a Super Bowl ring. And when the Giants beat the Patriots in the 2000 the Super Bowl in 2008, in February 2008, and they got, Moss didn't get his ring. But anyway, NFL is the only good sport left. Well, I tell you what, they need to bring back some hard hitting. I don't like the 25-yard line or no run backs, on kickoffs. I hate that shit. When I played football, I wanted to run hard, and if I couldn't get through, if I couldn't get around them, I hit them as hard as they hit me. That was the fun part about it. Hell, in the Marine Corps, we used to play combat soccer. What's that? Platoon against platoon, 2 or 3 balls with no rules. That'll toughen you up. I'm going to be number 1. UFC fight, add 4 teams next season. I don't watch that UFC stuff. I don't get cable and stuff. I don't know. I'm pretty good at what I do. Anyway, I don't watch that type of stuff. So anyway, you and Mike Tyson fight was ass. I'm done with boxing. Oh, Mike. See, it's all about money. See, this is why I don't like money in sports. Because back in the 60s and 70s, before the big money got into the NFL and stuff, and then you had when Deion Sanders back in, the late 90s or whatever, and trying to get the best deal ever, and it's all over the news and shit. Okay, and now they're trying to sit there and they're going to want to pay college kids that play football, and they think they deserve money. I mean, are you kidding me? And then college is going to go all shit. Oh, you can't give them a touch quarterback. One thing about college ball, you got a bunch of young kids out there just roughing it up. I mean, not everybody can play, it's a mental state. You get yourself amped up like a horse before a horse race. I mean, I love playing football. I love playing basketball. But, I'm competitive and stuff. But anyway, I'm just sick of big money getting into sports. I'm really tired of it. NBA is boring. I don't like watching college or professional basketball on TV. I like going to the high school gyms and watching high school basketball. And I love playing basketball. But, I like playing golf too, but I hate watching it on TV. That's the most boring sport. But just like basketball, I'd rather play it or go to the local high school, watch kids run around and play basketball. I think that's cool. I get more entertainment out of that and stuff. Okay, anyway. Apple is much better than whatever you're using. Eventually I'll get set up on a whole bunch of nice stuff. I have a camera set up and stuff, but that takes money. And until my channel grows, that's one thing about my channel. I'll never ask for money or donations or sell anything on this channel. If you want to support the channel, hit the thumbs up, the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And when the channel gets big enough where I get monetized, then we'll let the advertisers pay for it. And it won't take a lot of money for me to turn this into a more professional looking channel. I realize that. And I have owned business before. Okay. But it's hard to sit there. But I want to get the truth out, but I don't want to make money at it, because it feels wrong for me. I have a hard time watching YouTube channels that I like. They're just an infomercial sometimes and shit. I don't want to ever be restricted on what I can say or anything. And then when it gets to the point where I get monetized, like shit, when my channel was growing like crazy for that 6 days, I'd have been monetized by now. But the algorithm kicked in and stuff. All you got to do is watch a commercial, and that'll be enough money to sit there and support. Like I say, I want to get the truth out there, the message out there. That's more important to me. That green piece of paper, that means nothing to me. It's just a necessary evil in today's world that you need. I live a very humble life. And the money that I do have, I use it wisely. But this is another part of my life, and to get better equipment. And I do have a computer which does better, but for some reason I can't get nobody on my live streams on my computer. The algorithm won't even let anybody send notifications out. This is the best way for my channel to grow. But eventually, where I lived before, I had more of a studio. I had backdrops and stuff, and I need to get better on my computer skills, okay? Hello, how's it going, Dr. Demogorgon? Demogorgon. I'm doing good. How are you doing this evening? Hope you're enjoying your 4th of July weekend. Do you like helicopters? Oh, yeah. When I was the first 4 years in the Marine Corps, a CH-46 and a CH-53 were my main forms of transportation. Had to go through helicopter egress training in the pool and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on choppers. It's hard. You should just follow trends, play videos, games, or some. I don't play video games. I got too many other hobbies. I got horses. I got piano. I got a yard to take care of. I'm at that age where I want a perfectly green yard, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it, okay? So, I remember as a kid going to the arcade and stuff when the Atari was first coming out and all that stuff. I mean, basically when Pac-Man, the black and white version where he never turned around, he just went in one direction. What I mean by that is he wouldn't turn his face. So whatever direction you went, he never turned his face. So he'd still gobble up dots no matter which way he was facing. Do you spend any time on a ship? Yes, I did. The USS Austin and the USS Guadalcanal. I have been to Diego Garcia. Yes, I have. That was back in 87. I am a shellback. I've been across the equator. And if anybody's asking, what the hell are you talking about shellback? Let me tell you. There's rituals in the military everywhere. And in the Marine Corps or the Navy, if you cross the equator, you're considered a shellback. And I was talking to somebody that went through this during the early 2000s, and they said they don't do this no more, this hazing. But the night before, you're called a polywog because there's people on ship that obviously have been across the equator and ones that haven't. And if you haven't been across the equator yet, you're called a polywog. And if you have been across the equator, you're called a shellback. Well, anyway, the night before, and I got pictures of this, right? I should put these on. Yeah, okay. On ship, you get really bored, right? But anyway, yeah, we had these drag queen contests. Yeah, this back in 87. But it was obviously a joke. It wasn't serious. But we had a drag queen beauty contest on the ship and stuff. So some guy in our unit, we had to dress him up. We dressed them all up as camouflage as a woman-looking thing and stuff. And then that night, the only thing I didn't like there's a lot of things I didn't like about that experience. But the night before we crossed, anyway, the polywogs got to sit there and get the best of the shellbacks. And I saw first class that I would say got borderline abused by some people under him that didn't like him. But anyway, I saw that. I didn't like that. Anyway, so they got us up the next morning, right? And I was on a helicopter, the Guadalcanal at this time. And we had to put we had our PT clothes, physical training clothes on, and our PT shorts and our shirt. We had to put them on inside out and backwards and stuff and all this trash. And then they walked us to the elevators and they brought us up on the deck. And then we had to go through the gauntlet. And then the biggest, fattest chief on the ship has his old belly out there all rubbed with this nasty stuff, and he'd take your face and then you had a steel beach party after that, the rest of the day. And what a steel beach party is where you basically, it's a steel beach picnic. I'm sorry, not a party. Steel beach picnic, where they had barbecue and pop, and we had a picnic on the deck. Now on the Austin, when we did that was a ship that could ballast down in the water where we had landing crafts in and stuff, right? And what they did on those days, or days that we were dead and the seas were calm, what they would do is they'd ballast down, and the landing crafts would come out, and then the water was in there, and then they closed the back door so no sharks could get in nothing, and they turned that area into a swimming pool. That's pretty cool. I tell you, all the little nice advantages. Any little bit of entertainment on ship is worth it, okay? But I'm sure ship life's a lot different now. But yes, I got my Liberty cuffs too. So anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't been watching. Emma, keep real. Hi, say hi. How's it going? Anyway, but yeah, this is the thing. That was one life I lived for 8 years until this Clinton came in office, and they downsized the service so bad, and they ran like a big business. And if they didn't need you, they gave you severance pay and said bye-bye. That's why when all these government workers got fired, I didn't feel bad about it, because they got severance pay just like I did. They got the shaft just like I did. I'm from Florida. Hey, how's it going? My first wife was from Florida, from Rockledge, Florida. And her dad was, he was I don't know what town it was. It wasn't Merritt Island. I know what. But anyway, he was across the bay from Cape Canaveral. And when the space shuttle was going to do a launch, right, we were going to be there on Thursday, but it was supposed to go up on Tuesday. And I was hoping it would get delayed because, God, my God, I was always want to be an astronaut into the space thing and actually see a launch in person. I thought it'd be great. And it got postponed to that Friday, right? And we're watching it from her dad's front yard where we could see across the bay and stuff. And we're watching it go to the TV, and we're watching the countdown go back outside. So it was a night launch too, so I got to see it go up from my ex-wife's, my first wife's dad's front yard. Now that was a cool experience. And then I got to see, this was back in, I think this would have been 92, maybe 91. I can't remember what it was. You couldn't even join the Coast Guard. Whatever, dude. You don't believe it? Go to my post, go to my channel, and go to my post. I got some pictures posted. But that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Not everybody's meant to be a Marine. That's why I was a Marine, because I didn't want to be in the Coast Guard. What's your Instagram? I don't have an Instagram. All I have is YouTube. I used to have X, but that's an echo chamber. I used to be on Rumble and stuff. And then my YouTube channel got canceled, so I kind of got off YouTube, but I started back up. But I don't have Instagram or nothing like that. Everything's on YouTube. My life's on YouTube. You think, how do you respond to that? Person doesn't even know me and he thinks he knows. They think they know what I'm qualified to do, what I've done in my life and stuff. Okay. Whatever. I don't care. Freemason too. You can follow me. But anyway, you know, this is the problem with this country. Where you got people that would rather come out and think they know everything. You know, I never go into somebody's life or never come on here saying, I know this about somebody. I try not to group people together, stereotype them. But I don't understand where trying to destroy somebody. I mean, you try to destroy another American, kick him down and stuff, you're kicking the country down. Especially when you say that to a vet. That's why I got those posts on my channel. You go to post, and then I got some there when I had my black bear too, but you may think but on my other lone wolf prep. But anyway, I got pictures. And I'm going to put some more pictures on there, I guess, of how we lived in the ship. 24 guys packed into an area with our gear, you know, because, you know, our rifles wouldn't, our rifle racks in our rack, we were stacked 4 high. I couldn't even turn around in my rack. There wasn't enough room for me to turn around. And we were in the Austin we were in. They had that. We had the Berlin area where they took the hatch to go down into the engine room. And when they'd vent that engine room, whoo, it got hot. But anyway, I'd always sneak up on deck at night, try to find some place to sleep where the watches couldn't find me and wake me up. Of course, I never did. And they were just trying to make sure you didn't fall overboard, but my God, did it get hot in the Berlin area sometimes. It's Jeffrey Dahmer. No, sorry. I don't have the appetite for what he decided to eat. See, this is what I mean. I love it though. But see, this is what I mean. That one that was on here talking about people that say bad stuff about him. You can't worry about stuff like that because these people are the ones that feel insecure about themselves. These are the people that don't like what they see in the mirror every day. These are the people that won't ever sit there and get on YouTube like me and show their face because they wouldn't have followers. Who's going to have a channel where all you're doing is insulting anybody that puts a comment on your page? But you got to remember the quality of the person that's telling you this. You know, when somebody who thinks a man can get pregnant calls me crazy, well, it just means I know I'm sane. Just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. You know, and I grew up in the age where sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And if you think words are going to hurt me, let's see, I got teased in high school, our school in elementary. Our parents told you we don't care how you feel or nothing, and they just made us do everything we didn't want to do. I joined the Marine Corps, and they definitely didn't care about my feelings there. And all I've ever had to hear is the truth my whole life. So you tell me how some troll, and I'm very confident, and I like myself, and I know I'm a moral person, and I try to be a better person. So you tell me what troll on YouTube is going to be able to get to me to where I question myself. See, this is the point they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to question yourself. That, like this. You don't really see what's going on. That's what's not going on, what you see. What's really going on is what we're telling you what's going on. You're on YouTube, you got to be thick-skinned. Because I've had my life threatened on this channel, on my other channel. Okay? This is flat out what these people do. I mean, they're beating up Teslas, for crying out loud. Anything to sit there, and I'm sure on this channel, I probably microaggression a few of them. Obviously. Okay? Because I had to hear the truth my whole life. So guess what? If you want to deal with me, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. You ask me a question, I'm going to answer it truthfully. Do you think a man can get pregnant? Hell no. How many genders are there? 2. You may need help. But see, I get told on this channel that I need to see a therapist because I don't believe this yet. I need to go to somebody that can talk to me and continuously talk to me and tell me that this stuff is true and you shouldn't feel this way. Hey, bro, can you make it wink? I don't know what that means, but I don't care to know what that means. Howie Long, use your own mind. Yeah, well, remember that if you ain't old enough, but back in the 70s, they had a commercial on TV that said a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And they're talking about sending black kids, minorities, to college, right? Saying they had an unfair disadvantage, didn't go to college. But I didn't realize that commercial really meant is we want to send your kids to college so we can brainwash them and they become a non-thinking parasite instead of an intelligent, well-educated, be able to comprehend person. I understand that commercial now completely. Was that 50 years ago that was on? It's amazing the older you get, and they have been playing this game for so long. Just like the global warming. I mean, they've been pushing that shit in the 70s. We were all going to be underwater, or the earth was going to, crust was going to just come apart. I mean, we weren't even supposed to be existing now. Commercial, your brain on drugs, they must smash eggs in a... Whatever. This is the thing. You don't have to agree with me. And you can sit there and think I'm crazy. But Mountain Dew, maybe that's what does it. Or maybe all the additives they've done to the food. Or I know what it is. It's called, I'm like the main character in the Twilight Zone who's losing his mind because everybody in the Twilight Zone's like, everything's fine here, man. Don't worry that you got to worry about maybe getting killed at a July 4th party or celebration now. Anyway, party on, dude. I am telling you, this is our protest. Let's show them sons of bitches how many patriots there are. Now, I don't drink alcohol, so I hope somebody in the chat out there has a beer for me or 2. Okay? But we need to show them by having a good time and let them have their No Kings protests and march around and be a bunch of idiots. And we're all smiling. I guess the cops ain't going to have much of getting a day off, but whatever. Anyway, I want to go into this channel will never ask for money or donations or sell anything. But to support it, if you hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell notification. And when I get monetized, then you can watch a commercial. And then I can get some money and I can make this all professional. I can make everybody happy. I do want to make it look better, especially if things are really going to get crazy. And I don't mean just after the 4th of July, but, we're concentrating on our country this week, celebrating our country's history, its birthday. But on July 5th, we're still going to have the same problems that we had on July 3rd. We still wars and rumors of wars. We're still going in debt. We still got that big, beautiful bill. God, I don't know how anybody can sit there and think that going into debt even more is a good idea. But all these problems. America, if we don't go back to the basics, and it's going to hurt everybody because this country has gone so far, I don't want to say to the left or the right, just so far down the toilet that everybody's going to pay when the plumber has to come. And the American people are the plumber. Did deeper well reach China, boys? I don't know. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to dig a well here. You got to go 180 feet down to the aquifer. But the water's good. But anyway, I just don't understand why, if you hate America, you would come here and then expect the taxpayers of that country that you hate to give you freebies. Well, you take over their country. I mean, this is the thing. There's nothing wrong with being a nice, considerate, thinking of your fellow human person. But this is going too far. Like I say, they did not fight the revolution and have a Declaration of Independence so we can have a bunch of people from other countries complaining that millions of people are going to die because the U.S. got rid of USAID. USA. Since when does... Maybe we should make the leaders of their country responsible, or even, God forbid, we made the parents responsible. The citizens of these countries that come here, you want to make your country better? Then do what we did. Have a revolution, kick the garbage out, start a constitutional republic, and get everybody working to sit there and make your country great. Okay? Mexico, you want to do something with your country? How about become competition, real competition to America? Because this is what America needs. Obviously, Chinese competition don't mean nothing. But we need a competitor so close that you feel it, to bring out your, hey, let's get the job done. We got something to do. Anyway, you a Trump supporter? We got to talk politics. No. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I don't sit there and follow any goddamn banner. I'm not a libertarian. I'm an American. I belong to the Constitution. I took an oath to the Constitution to support and defend it. And that also meant the American people, no matter how you think politically. But this is the thing is, I am getting sick and tired of voting for the lesser evil. Out of as big as the parties are, that's the best we got to offer. Is somebody who's been in politics for over 50 years and is incoherent. And Trump will never understand where I come from. And I'll be honest with you, Trump. See, since I'm older, I remember Trump back in the 80s. And I couldn't stand his ass then. I thought he was an arrogant fuck. But of course, opinions change. Especially when they're going against Hillary Clinton, who wants to turn us into a communist countries and threatening World War III. Or Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, what was the number 2 and number 1 communists in the country? What other choice do I have? But I'm sick of only having that choice. He's nothing more than a reality TV star. We basically have Kim Kardashian for president. All I know is he can't drain the swamp. Like I say, it doesn't matter about one man. One man ain't going to do it. The American people need to come together. Stop listening to your stupid-ass politician, especially the ones that were around on September 12th, 2001, when we all came together as a country, no divisions that day. That's what we need to come back to. But they put that bullet through his ear, I don't know. But if the president of the United States, who says he's for the people and wants to give the country back to the people, can't even do it, then there's only one group that can, the American people. But, he spends money like a drunken sailor. The Republicans and the Democrats, I don't see much of a difference in them no more. It just they all spend too much money, and then they just decide for 4 years what they're going to spend it on. That's going to piss the other side off. And then the other side comes on, and with the democracy they're trying to create, well, for 4 years you're the wolf, and then the next 4 years you're the sheep. I'm sick of it. J.D. Vance. Yes, I like J.D. Vance. You know why? Because he started off his adult life just like I did. In those little yellow footprints at Marine Corps boot camp, just as he was getting off the bus. Started off his adult life just like I did. Okay? Now, he wasn't in the ground side or nothing like that. But, he still went through boot camp, got the Marine mentality. Now, that's why I support him. I love nothing better. Why wouldn't I support an NCO, non-commissioned officer in the Marine Corps, to become president? Why wouldn't I do that? I was an NCO in the Marine Corps. Okay? Of course. I just hope he isn't bought out. What I can't wait for is watching the liberals go nuts when J.D. Vance is shooting skeet in the backyard of the White House, and then his wife comes up and shows his ass up doing the same thing. Anyway, but look at what he did to Zelensky. When him and Trump were in the Oval Office with Zelensky, and Zelensky started getting smart with Trump, and everybody was getting mad at J.D. Vance for the smackdown? No. You know what he was doing? See, J.D. Vance looks at President Trump as in his chain of command. And if you were around a group of officers and some strangers or a group of officers were hanging around their commanding officer and some stranger came in and started talking smack, believe me, those junior officers are going to speak the hell up. But in the Marine Corps, they would graciously or ungraciously show you to the door. One thing in the Marine Corps, our first sergeant always said, and I still lived in squad bays and stuff. If you find a thief in the barracks, make sure he hits every step in the barracks before he hits my front door. Guess what? We never had a problem with people stealing in the barracks. In the summer of 1932, World War I vets known as the Bonus Army marched on D.C. and demanded their pay. President Hoover ordered that current military to disperse them. Know what's general assisted? God, I remember hearing about that. Oh, that's been so long. That's in a file that's buried. But I do remember watching something on that one. I can't remember. But yeah. The vets. Anyway, the thing is, you're not getting what you want. Like I say, everything was promised to us when we went in. But when we get out, we got to fight for everything that we're supposed to have gotten for serving, and then you can still get denied. Anyway, it's not a system. And the last thing, the VA system is not the best medical system, but either is the civilian medical system anymore. So you can spend a lot of money there, though, can't you? I don't know. I don't ever have to go to the doctor. So that's the one thing. You seem like a pretty reasonable fella. What do you think about Israel and Iran war and America's involvement? I'll tell you what. They have been fighting for thousands of years. And I may sound a little cruel on this, but obviously U.S. involvement is stupid. We've been involved, remember Jimmy Carter and the Camp David Accord and all that other stuff. And now we're dealing with 47 years later, 46 years later. Now this is going to seem harsh. But this is the thing, if the people aren't going to decide to get along and they want to sit there and drag each other down, don't drag the whole world down. Basically what I'm saying, if they both got nukes, let them nuke the hell out of each other. Let the Middle East turn itself into glass. And then maybe the future generations of those warring factions that have never stopped can finally had enough, and they can get along for generations instead of fight wars for generations. Let them solve the goddamn problem is what I'm saying. Let them duke it out. The resources are going to run out eventually, especially fossil fuels. Then everybody is going to go crazy. That's my opinion. Oh, yeah. Well, the one thing is, do you realize that the population of the planet after World War II was just under 2.5 billion people? So that means that that's all, what, 20-some thousand years to get there, or 30,000 years? Okay. So since then, we're at 8.5 billion. So that's 6 billion people put on this planet in 80 years. This planet wasn't made to deal with this many people. And this is the elephant in the room. Instead of us all fighting wars, why don't the countries get together and deal with the elephant in the room, the overpopulation of the planet that we're going to have to deal with? And I don't think having World War III is a good idea of how to deal with it. I think if all the brilliant minds came together and we started actually, how many years do you think we got? Maybe 80? To start colonizing other planets. One thing about human beings, if they want to accomplish something, they accomplish it. They just got to have the drive and motivation. That's the elephant in the room, I say, in the future of humanity. Either the human race is going to have to be downsized, or we're going to have to find another mountain to go over. That was the thing when human beings were expanding and conquering the world. There was always another mountain to go over, another place to civilize. Well, we ain't got no more on the earth. Even Antarctica is civilized. So now we need to go to the next place, beyond the stars. How about we talk about the lack of education before we start practicing brilliance? Oh my God, the lack of education. Boy, that one, I could be here for a couple hours. I don't even want to get into it. I have been asking kids that are graduating for well over 15 years who we want our independence from. And not one of them answered it right. Not even my kids. They all say France for some reason. And I say, what language do you speak? This is stuff we all knew in kindergarten with Washington crossing the Delaware and stuff. And then their math skills. I mean, I'm working with these younger generation that are saying they're going to school to be a teacher, and their basic math they have none. Their handwriting is absolutely atrocious. And I'm sorry to say the dumbest box rocks. I don't know if the colleges got rid of the ACT and SAT, or if they just made those tests extremely easy. But the kids that are graduating today, no way could have passed the SAT test that I took. Yeah, we need to get rid of the Department of Education. The best thing about me getting educated and why I got a good education is because all the teachers I had were teachers before the Department of Education was created. I was given the old style education where teachers actually cared about what happened to you after you left that school building when you turned 18. And believe me, I made those teachers earn every penny, but they cared. And I can never be more thankful to them for giving me the education they gave me. And then my secondary education, it's just, kids were demanded, they expected things out of kids. We had responsibilities. I mean, I had a job, I did sports, and I still made the honor roll in school. How come kids these days can't do that? Anyway, yeah, the education system. Trump said he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. When I had my kids in school, oh my goodness gracious, dealing with these superintendents and principals, how many times I went into their offices screaming my ass off. And that was back in the early 2000s up into, 2015? 2017? Believe me, I know the education system. I have a problem with it. Because this is the thing. Our children are the future of our country. Everybody would agree with that. Okay? If we don't educate our children, they don't have a future. If they don't have a future, how the hell does our country have a future? It's simple math. Simple logic, if you want to call it that way. If we don't have people to fill our shoes, I do labor jobs, but I'm talking just intelligence-wise. Okay? Kids aren't that smart these days. I mean, teachers are leaving the profession because watch a video on Generation Alpha, they call it. These are these new kids starting up like fourth grade on down, where they say they have no attention span. They have no comprehension skills. Where you can sit there and teach them a lesson and then ask them a question about the lesson right afterwards, and they have no idea what you're talking about because they're so doped up on dopamine because of their electronics and their phones and stuff. It's becoming impossible for these teachers to teach. And these are teachers that are Gen Zers or millennials or whatever. We have problems. After World War II, a lot of people don't know this. After World War II in Germany, when they reinstated education, a lot of 20-year-olds were in elementary because the Nazis didn't teach them shit. You're old corpse. Unfortunately, the winds have greatly changed. Everything is Charlie Foxtrot today. Oh, God. Okay. Can you imagine going to boot camp, right? And you're sitting there in Marine Corps boot camp. You got off the bus, the little yellow footprints, and they went over 4 general orders about disobeying a lawful order and UA and stuff. And then everybody went in the barber, got the haircut, and then you went in and you got your uniform, put your civilian clothes in a box that you didn't see until the end of boot camp, and you got all your stuff. Okay, now, so you get to go through that door and say, oh, I'm a woman. So you give me a woman's uniform? I mean, hard for me to believe that even happened. If I would have been given a uniform inspection to my troops, and I would have had somebody fall out in a woman's uniform, well, they would have been arrested. This wasn't Klinger and MASH, and it was funny. If you would have had, we never would have had somebody that demented and deranged anyway. I mean, we had to go through psychological evaluations and stuff. We never would have had that stuff. You know, and when I was in the military, if you were taking any type of antidepressant or crazy shit, you weren't stable, you didn't have a gun in your hand. We had Gay Friday in my unit. Oh my God. You want to know how I was in the Marine Corps? We were the last unit still in squad base. Squad base. With community shower. 10 showers had in one shower. This was our bathroom. The head, as we call it in the Marine Corps. And the reason it's called the head isn't a sexual term. It's because that's a Navy term. And in the old days, the bathroom used to be at the head of the ship. That's why it's called head. But anyway, we had community showers. You know, 12 shower heads in the same room, or 10 shower heads in the same shower room. And then sinks in one room, and then get 5 shitters, right? With no dividers between them. No privacy at all. They kept us that way because it kept us close. And I don't mean close in that way. There was, you know, it was different. Okay? So they sit there and say the military is tough. My garrison life was tougher than their field life. Want to know where the origin of transgenderism came from? The Weimar Republic. Germany, 1920s. Right? Anyway, thanks for your service, everyone out there in here. Yes, thank you for everybody. Thank you for your service. But the thing is, as we're finding out, our service isn't over yet. When it comes time for us to be called by the American people, for us to band, we finally get our George Washington and somebody to follow, and we can take our country back, we'll be fighting again. Not really how I want to spend my elderly years, but I really don't have much of a choice now, do I? Because I got children and grandchildren. I know what the Declaration of Independence means. Okay? It wasn't something that was just like put together by a bunch of rich guys, and they knew the outcome of what was going to happen. But just like me making a statement on YouTube, people don't agree with. They were doing stuff that a lot of Americans didn't agree with. Only 20% support the revolution. Now, I'm not saying 80% were against the Declaration of Independence. I think there was a lot of gray area that didn't want to be involved in it. But there were some people that didn't like it. Anyway, I'm not going to give up on my fellow American citizen just because he doesn't agree with me. Because one day he'll wake up. Because when all this stuff goes down, all the petty little differences we have, all the division they're trying to create will go away. Just like on September 12th, 2001. Everybody remember that day? Everybody remember, or September 11th, actually. Congress coming out on the steps of Congress in unity. What, they sing the national anthem? What the hell happened those days? That was only 24 years ago. 5, 6 elections, presidential elections, and all of a sudden we want to sit there and shoot each other? And I live out here in the middle of nowhere. I just don't quite understand that thinking. Yeah, but we was fake because we all know what really happened. Yeah, it's called Section 8. Speak your truth, 80% of people are. You know, we used to deal with truth and facts. Like I say, when we grew up, our parents, we had to hear what we didn't want to hear because that's the truth. You need to hear the truth. You don't get no better from hearing lies. I mean, we were just, nobody spared our feelings, man. Kids were, kicked out. Times were different back then, okay? But, I feel lucky being that generation. I went to high school in the 80s, from 80 through 86, right? The 80s was an awesome decade. I say it was the pinnacle. 80s and the 80s for sure was the pinnacle for America. It was where America has raised us to the top of being the best it could be. And I'm not saying we ain't more technologically advanced or not like that, but the mindset the kids had to go out. I mean, talk to kids these days, getting back to education. What do you want to be when you grow up? And very few kids even know what the hell they want to be. They say, I don't know. Jeepers Christ, we all knew when we were going through elementary, had dreams of what we want to be, an astronaut. Hell, I was going to the Marine Corps, the recruiting station when I was in the 8th grade, and they just kept telling me to come back when I was older. The social contract is broken. The unity is broken. We got the people in this country that believe that we shouldn't have rights, that the government should grant us privileges, that the Constitution is a document that should exist. I firmly believe that the human beings are breaking into two species. Liberalism, with the help of pharmaceutical companies and all this brainwashing, is causing the human race to separate into two species because of the brain. The brain between the Neanderthal and Homo sapien were different. Homo sapien was superior. That's why we overtook the world, okay? And Neanderthal died out. But could there be genes in Neanderthal in these people? I mean, they just seem to be going in not the right direction. I made a short one time of what it's like to talk to a liberal. Somebody who sits there and tells me I'm crazy but thinks men can get pregnant. You can't even, that's when you just walk the other way and don't even talk to them, because you realize that whatever you say isn't going to matter. They are inhalating, okay, I stand with God. I'm solid. I pay for the others, though. All right. So you're a virgin. No, I'm sorry to say, I wish I was. Then I wouldn't have to pay child support for all those years. And I wouldn't have 5 daughters. Then I wouldn't have all this gray hair. I should have stayed a virgin. But, I wasn't that smart back then. No permission by government servants, which are on their way, are employees. Yeah, well, that mindset needs to come back. This is the thing. The citizens of the country should never fear the government. The government should always fear the citizens. That will always keep the government in check. But they try to keep us in check by making sure we fear them. Do you understand? The tables got turned on us. Boomer mogging. I'm not quite a boomer. I missed the boomer. I heard boomers went out to 64, so I would have missed the boomers by 3 years. But that would mean most of my brothers are boomers. The equation story of God is true. Adam and Eve did have sons, and the Adam side was the only people that saved before the flood. Vegan, read much? Read much? Well, not that much anymore. When I was on ship, I used to read a lot. I had a lot of time. The Navy run the ships, the Marines, after we clean our weapons a few days. We stand in chow line and stuff. I read a lot of books on ship. I like reading. I like Westerns and stuff. But I don't read as much as I used to. So, anyway. But, that's the one thing. You get older, you have so many more hobbies, like YouTube's another hobby. I like playing piano. That takes time. I have horses and animals I got to take care of. I got a job I got to do. You know, one thing when you find out when you're older, there's only 24 hours in a day, and you got to regulate those hours wisely. And some days you just don't get a lot of sleep. But anyway, such is life. But that's all I got for this evening. I've been on rambling for an hour. Appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like and subscribe and bell notification. Support the channel. Louis L'Amour, I probably butchered that. Oh, Louis L'Amour. Let me talk about Louis L'Amour. Sorry, somebody brought up a subject I like. When my brother was an over-the-road trucker back in the 90s, and sometimes I rode with him. I'd take leave from the Marine Corps and go ride with him. But he had a bunch of cassettes of Louis L'Amour audiobooks, audio tapes. Because at the truck stops then, you know, that was, I used to love walking through a truck stop. It was like a carnival for me. But I would sit there, he would hate it. But the whole time I rode with him, I would sit there and listen to those Louis L'Amour audio tapes, those dramatizations, you know. Plus, nowadays on YouTube, I listen to the old Gunsmoke radio shows and stuff like that, which I like the radio shows actually better than I like the TV show. And I like the TV show a lot. But yeah, I still listen to a lot of that old stuff. You know, you just can't beat greatness. So, but when it comes to reading too, one thing my first wife and I would do when we travel the country, and we travel a lot, we'd sit there and listen to the radio. The one who was sitting in the passenger seat would read the book while the other one was driving. We'd spend a lot of our off time doing that. And Dean Koontz was a lot of the books that I read. And I'll tell you what, the best Dean Koontz book I ever read, if anybody read it, was Lightning. I read that book 3 times. That was an awesome book. Dealt with time travel, Nazis. The only thing with Dean Koontz is when he'd research a book, he'd really research it. In some of his more technical books, you could get lost. What the hell is he talking about? But I read a lot of Dean Koontz's books. And then, you know, I read It when I was on ship. I read It from Stephen King. You know, you get through the first 60 pages of that book, and then it just gets awesome from there. I read The Stand. You know, those are books that are over 1,000 pages. Anyway, yeah, I like reading. So, but that's the thing with my dugout. When I get my plan SHTF or wherever my retirement is, I'll be in my dugout with my lantern light, reading my Western book in my chair. Oh, heaven on earth. Anyway, did you serve, sir? Yes, I was in the Marine Corps from 1985. I enlisted to 1994 when I fell into the force reductions from Bill Clinton. At the time, I was in an MOS that had only 52 people in it, and they cut it down to 26. Now, that was a really small MOS, and I realized some people are. An MOS that was that small, yeah, an MOS that was that small. And I tried B billet and everything, drill field, embassy duty, everything. And the thing is, if they could extend you, but if they didn't have a place to put you after your B billet, you didn't get to stay in. And everybody said, well, severance pay because I had over 8 years in. But, you know, it was a bad situation. There were guys that had 18 years in, 2 years from retirement, that got forced out in severance pay. And that's why all this stuff with these government officials, government employees that are getting fired or getting their severance pay and released, I don't feel a bit sorry for them. I mean, this is the thing. Okay, when the government says not only essential personnel only comes in during a snowstorm, well, then basically nobody else is needed. Okay, the government doesn't need extra red tape so somebody's around the office to get coffee just in case a person who gets a coffee isn't able to do it at the time. But the government don't have a problem spending money. Marines suck. Go Air Force. You want to hear some Marine Corps jokes? Oh, I'm sure you probably heard it. What shit sound like when it goes through a fan? Marine. What's USMC stand for? Uncle Sam's Misguided Children. And the one I love the best and I've experienced before, you suckers miss Christmas. But you know what? There's a pride in being a jarhead. Who else can sit there and want to sit there and punish their body as much as that and enjoy it while they're doing it? I mean, I love the Marine Corps so much that when I was in boot camp, I was writing my recruiter, and I was a squad leader in boot camp, did really well in boot camp. But I was writing my recruiter while I was in boot camp, telling them how much fun I was having. Everybody else like telling how they hate their recruiter. But see, this is the thing. When I went to Marine Corps boot camp, my home life sucked so bad that I went to Marine Corps boot camp to get away from it. And I may have got yelled at there, but I got paid for it. And I excelled as a Marine. It was hard getting out. I had a lot of problems. I still have a lot of problems because I didn't want to be a civilian, but I didn't have a choice. Anyway, that's the way things were run back then, and that's why we had 9/11. But I'm not going to go into that whole story because when I got out in 1994 with the force reductions, I told people for years, the terrorists are going to get. I dealt with terrorism for a while. The terrorists are going to get us. I knew how much they hated us, and other things. And I said they're going to get us. And all I heard for 7 years was, "Oh no, the United States. This could never happen. The United States and stuff." That's why when I was watching the news that morning on September 11th, 2001, I turned it on right after the first plane hit. And everybody thought, well, maybe a plane just hit the Twin Towers. And I saw I was watching on the news when the second one came in, which was actually on the news, on live news. And I knew right then and there we were under attack. And I went down and woke up my wife at the time and said, "Guess what, honey? The terrorists are attacking us. I told you so." That didn't surprise me at all. Anyway, thank you for your service. Well, I appreciate it. But I like to say, our service ain't over. Every American is going to realize what the sacrifice is going to be to get this country back. Everybody will understand what the Declaration of Independence really means. And maybe we'll have a few generations in this country where the people that want to burn the American flag aren't going to get away with it. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I will not disappoint you. I tell you what, when we get our George Washington this time, and we decide to take our country back, and our George Washington's going to have a well-trained military. I mean, look how many vets our country's created in the last 35 years of war. Plus, when I was in with Reagan, I found out peacetime's also a war. We just did it right. We kept us at peace. But he's going to have us vets. He's going to have all the military supply that we paid for. We can go to these military bases and take them over and run the equipment, and we know the tactics and get our chain of command going and stuff. It's just we have to be more motivated to do that than the people that are trying to take the meaning of our 4th of July, call our country bad and our founding fathers racist. We need to be more motivated to take our country away from them than they are more motivated in taking our country away from us. Say, go out and party your asses off tomorrow. Don't be drinking and driving, stupid enough like that. Because the liberals are going to be keeping the cops busy enough. So make sure that we celebrate in a way where we don't have to have the cops worry about us. Because they'll have their hands full tomorrow with all the people that hate America so bad, but need America to make sure that they have their day-to-day lives, they can live their day-to-day lives by the American taxpayer making he goes to work. I'm so tired of these people hate our country so bad. And they rely on every service that our government has to live their life. Anyway, like I say, if you hate it so bad and you hate the white culture so bad, then why would you come to a country that's worse than, the people are worse than you, the culture is worse than you? Obviously, the country is worse than the country you came from. Why would you come here? That's white dominated with a white culture. Makes no sense to me. But, when you're dealing with people that, we all know why they want to come here. They want to take over the United States. That, all these elites have their little armies. Their little antagonizers that create their little armies to sit there and jab at us. But they're not going to get control of this country. Too many Americans know what it feels like to be free. I grew up free. Okay, I know what the Constitution, the amendments, I know what the Declaration of Independence means. And I do believe it's time to throw off this government and install new guards to ensure our freedom. I think that time's long been passed. $37 trillion plus in debt, people. $37 trillion in debt. Okay? 1983, October 16th, was the first time we went $1 trillion in debt. So you're dealing with 42 years later, we've created $36 trillion in debt that we know about, right? Is that enough for a revolution or to take our country back? Our federal government basically has a few jobs. Secure our borders. Secure the safety of our money supply. Okay? Deal with other foreign countries. Ensure that I can pursue my happiness without another citizen interfering with me, another country interfering with me, or the government interfering with me. I mean, for one thing, the federal government is not allowed to own all the land it owns. But see, we don't follow the Constitution no more. We want a democracy, right? Well, all you that want your democracy, just remember when Donald Trump starts talking about 2028, which he's just trolling people, in a democracy, they could have that. In a constitutional republic where you got to follow the rules, the government has to follow the damn rules, you can't have that. Then the people don't have to be afraid. But we get to the point, again, where our government is afraid of the people, that I don't know if we pass a big, beautiful bill that puts us deeper in debt, they may come out with their Second Amendment tools to make sure we don't do that. Hand the King of England the Magna Carta at the end of a sword. Is that the point we need to get at? And when I say king, I mean the politicians, every frickin' politician. Whether they be a Republican, Democrat, Independent, it don't matter. They all need to be woke up. You said Americans were based on racism, which is not true at all. America wasn't based on racism. When did I say that? I never said that. If you hate somebody or dislike a group of people because of their color, my intelligence level can't come down to yours. I have the inability to hate somebody because of what they look like. I mean, I don't even hate these people that think completely out of the box, you might say. Oh, you're talking to somebody in the comments? Okay, I'm sorry. I appreciate that. So I can get, yeah. See, we're racist. If you don't know the revolution, all races fought in the revolution. People came from all over the world to fight in a war where men were fighting to make themselves free. Yeah, slaves, we still had slavery after the revolution. Yeah, because the founding fathers that wanted to get rid of slavery realized that we needed to form a country, and slavery would have had to be handled later because we couldn't form a country if the ones that wanted to get rid of slavery had their way. It's just like back now. Well, we don't have compromise now. We send these people to D.C., and like I say, it don't matter it's Democrat or Republican. How the hell can the Democrat be mad at this bill? Just because it don't spend money their way? It's just setting a precedent so when they get back in the office, they can have a huge-ass, big, beautiful bill too. The American people ain't got the money. Everybody's broke. The dollar ain't worth shit. Anyway, to secure the safety of the money supply. I mean, when the government prints money, or the Federal Reserve or the Treasury prints money out of thin air, that's the same as counterfeiting. Whether the government's doing it or somebody's doing it in their basement, it's still worthless money being printed, being introduced to the money supply to try to weaken it. That's all it is. Same damn thing. But we're allowing it. But maybe when we don't have a welfare system no more because the country's broke and everybody that's on SNAP and food stamps and gets their monthly check realizes that, oh my God, I'm really screwed. And they'll be out with their pitchforks and their torches. We'll see. Alligators eating Mexicans. You voted for this. Okay, this is the thing. If you don't want to go to Alligator Alcatraz, see, you can go to the government and say, I'm an illegal. Can you please help me get home? And they will send you straight home and help you and probably give you a meal and everything. But if you want to fight and be an illegal and fight the system, because remember, there are some things Trump's doing that we did a vote for. And the American, hardworking American person wants to get these illegals out of this country. And if you don't, I say, fuck Alligator Alcatraz. I say, put $1,000 bounty on every illegal and tell every American citizen, you have to be an American citizen, that they can go bounty hunt these illegals, take them to an area, you get 10 of them, rent a 10-person van, take them there, they give you 10 grand, and you go back and get another carload. Within 48 hours, 90% of them are going to be gone, and the rest of them will be gone in a week. If they don't want to leave on their own, well, then you get a boot in the ass, buddy. Do you let somebody come into your house that you don't want to and take over? This is my home. Anyway, Trump 2029. Bezos, that sounds foreign. Yeah, Jeff Bezos, hey, he's my favorite buddy. Jeff Bezos loves what I have to say. Jeff Bezos, I tell you what, he gets up in the morning and he goes to the Hidden Truths. He goes, I can't wait to see what Tom has to say today because the algorithm keeps telling me that I need to watch this guy. Not. I tell you that not. But I heard he got married last weekend in June, or, I hope he's happy. Anyway. But, this is the thing with social media. If they're afraid to hear the truth, these people have too much power. And with the AI algorithm, it's not only just hurting us conservative channels on social media no more. Now the mainstream media, CBS, ABC, CNN, and all that stuff, are complaining that their viewership online is down 40%. Yeah, because you got AI that's shadow banning your shit. Welcome to the world we've been dealing with. Like I tell everybody, we're all on the sinking ship together. Some of us are just closer to the water than the other people. Okay? But yeah, welcome to being clamped down on. What you talking about? Oh, I want to talk about party on and stuff. Have a great time on the 4th of July. Make sure you wear that, dress like a flag, and have that Trump and not Trump, George Washington. Okay. What president am I going to vote for again? Not the lesser of two evils no more. I'm going to vote for somebody who's like George Washington and very important, a candidate who knows what type of government we have. A candidate who sits there and starts talking about our constitutional republic. That's the one who will get my vote. You know, that's one reason this country has so many problems, because they're trying to change our constitutional republic into a democracy, and there's still too many people alive that understand we're a constitutional republic. And that the government, that handcuffs the government, doesn't handcuff the people, okay? So anyway, I've been going for almost an hour and 2.5. I'm not gonna, looks like he's got some muscle. Well, you know, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was always in sports, but yeah, I like being physically fit, you know, but keeps you healthy and stuff. And like I say, in the Marine Corps, being physically fit and being better than the next guy, you know, some jobs in the Marine Corps, when you play second, you go home in a little metal box coffin. Anyway, you had stolen valor, small house, dreams. You have stolen valor. Whatever, dude. Okay. See, this is what I like. But that's okay. If you got a foxhole in front of your house, I'm sure you want me in there. Just what I'm saying. People don't even know me. All they got to do is go to my posts on my channel. See, I was a Marine. I got a lot more pictures I can put on there too. But, you know, whatever. But I'll never sit there and put pictures of guns or knives or anything on my channel. I don't do that. Last thing I'm going to do is give the enemy any more information than they need. But see, this is what you're dealing with. Is people that want to take a part of my life and say, oh, no, you didn't have that stolen valor. Really? Why is that? Think I want to experience that? Think the small town farm boy from Minnesota wanted to have his eyes completely opened up in the first year and a half? See how the world really works? Anyway. Were you in Nam? No, that was before. I first went in during Reagan. Okay. Went in right after Reagan started his second term. So anyway, I like to call myself a Reagan Marine. Anyway, but no, I wasn't in Nam. But I had a lot of Marines that were in my chain of command and in our unit and stuff in the ground side that were Vietnam vets and stuff. One of the best ones that we had was our first sergeant Butts. There was a man that you couldn't help but look up to. I mean, everybody respected him. He had the ultimate respect. But he was also the guy that I don't believe he had any children of his own. And everybody had that fatherly respect for him. I mean, Christmas, he brought in Christmas cookies that his wife made and stuff to the barracks for ones that did go home on Christmas leave. Do they have psychological testing after you get discharged to come back from a deployment? No. What are they going to sit there and tell you? You're crazy? No shit. Think I like knowing what I know? I would love to sit there and go through every day being a normal, stupid civilian. Not having to experience or know the knowledge that I have of how the world works. Think we're all a little crazy, like I say. No shit. But don't worry, it's coming to our soil. So all you people that think I'm a little off my rocker, guess what? You'll be right on the same rocking chair as I am pretty soon. You'll understand. Okay? Anyway, what's the knowledge you have? Well, I don't understand what knowledge. Diddy victim looking, huh? I tell you what, that's such crock shit. Everybody wants the Epstein list. We ain't even gonna get P. Diddy to be in trouble and stuff. Basically gets in trouble for hiring prostitutes. Being in the service definitely opened your eyes. Yeah. I was a small town Minnesota boy. Grew up in Little House in the Prairie, not where it was filmed. It wasn't filmed in Minnesota, but where the books, on the banks of Plum Creek, Walnut Grove. I actually went to school in Walnut Grove for a couple of years. And to sit there and go in the Marine Corps and loving it, like I say, wanted to be a Marine ever since the 8th grade. Come back when you're older. Write my recruiter how much fun I was having. And boot camp was the easiest part of my 4 years. And then seeing 11 different countries in the world in the first year and a half I'm in. Yeah. Talk about somebody's like, and then you're part of it. So it's not like you're going, oh, nothing like that. But it opens your eyes. And that's where I came to hate money. Because I saw what money does. Money kills people. Money and greed kills people. Anyway, do you smoke weed? No. How does he does? You ever do a dab? Bro on the Z? I don't understand what you're saying. You saw 11 base? No, I saw 11 different countries. I remember, I was a Marine. I was on ship. Okay? We would sit there and cruise and sit around for an area for the next call to go in. But I've even been all the way to Diego Garcia and stuff. So, no, we didn't. One thing we pull in the port, especially in Africa, I went out and experienced the town and stuff, looked at. I mean, you had, in Africa, it's so poor. You had restaurants with dirt floors and waiters working in bare feet and stuff. Where you were either rich or poor. There was no middle class. And I got sick there. I got a stomach disease. I was sick for a couple of days when we left. We got orders to Diego Garcia. We steamed for a couple of days, and I was sick that whole time. But then I went and hung out at American hotels. I think there were 5 American hotels there. And even though there were rich people there, but they were Americans, and we fit in just fine, and they accepted us and weren't snobs, and we had a good time. But yeah, Africa's poor. Somalia. Anyway, maybe that's why I hate Minnesota so much, because I've actually been to Somalia. Maybe that's why. Anyway, but it's different time. I want to serve my country, so I serve. I want to be on the ground side and be all I could be and push myself to the extreme and see what kind of man that I could be. Test my manhood. Every man in every culture, in a lot of cultures, men have to prove their manhood. Okay? And, I felt I should have to do that too. So, but that part of my life is over. Now I'm done raising my kids. I have grandchildren. I have, no responsibilities like I did when I was in the service or in the trenches, I would call when you're married and you're rearing children, and those are your tough years. Those are the years people spend in the trenches, okay? And now I don't have that no more. Now I have my own little fencing job I do, my own little fencing business, and I go around places and I do fencing out in awesome pastures and I have a good time. Feel my freedom. And don't understand why we have all this hate and discontent in this world. If people could just get along like it was after September 11th, 2001. He is a double agent. He was a double agent. No, I wasn't a double agent. He's a Marine, yeah. Jarhead. Oh, I love it. I love the title Marine. I don't care who insults me or anything. You know, like I say, being a Marine is something that was a dream of mine. And I got to fulfill that dream. And I got to sit there and put myself through the worst of it, you know. Hey, what can I do to make myself better? Like I tell a story about when you're doing pool training, right? And I can't exactly remember what that time was for, but we had a different instructor, and he was telling us about how long you could stay underwater. And he was saying, you know, when you still exhale your air, you still have 21% oxygen. And if you can get past the point that hurt you have where you don't have to breathe, where you don't take in water or nothing, you don't breathe. But when you can get past that pain of having to take the breath, he says you'll feel it. And I did it. Me being a Marine and somebody saying it can be done, I did it. So I'm down there. I was a scuba diver too and stuff. But anyway, I'm down in the pool and I get to the point where I get past the point where the pain of having to breathe. And I'm swimming around, right? And I got my diving watch on and I'm watching the time. It's 2 minutes, right? Don't even have to take a breath. No even urge to have to take a breath. It's, 2:45, still swimming around. 3 minutes. And I'm starting to feel unnatural about it. It started feeling unnatural. So at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, I was waiting for the pain to come back to feel like I had to take a breath again. And it wasn't coming back at all. It was cool, but it felt really unnatural. Anyway, so I decided 3 minutes and 15 seconds, I decided to come up. And I suggest you never, ever do this because they didn't tell me about this part. When I came up and I took that first breath, that almost took me under because I thought my head was going to explode. The pain I felt from that was incredible. So it can be done if you have to, but only stay under as long as you need to. Like I say, the human body is capable of so many things if you just go through the stop signs that you put on yourself. Okay? Back in the day of the Egyptians and all that stuff, the Ethiopians, they used to run 100 miles in that heat, nonstop, because they didn't know they couldn't do it. And that's how they had messages, runners, going from country to country, because they didn't know they couldn't do it. And then as time has passed, people have put so many restrictions on what they feel that the human being can do, put a governor on us, you might say, that a lot of people believe in that, okay? Believe me, the human body is capable of a lot of stuff. You should examine some of it sometimes, but don't go beyond your abilities. Anyway, I sure appreciate everybody being here. Tell them about the Cold War you were in. Well, when we were growing up and stuff, I didn't have to do the duck and cover under the desk. They were done with that. But the schools were fallout shelters. And everybody knew at any time, but Russia was the only one we had to worry about then. If something weird were to happen, we could go to nuclear war. And that's one thing about our politicians back then. They did everything possible to make sure that we wouldn't go to nuclear war with another country. Now it seems like our leaders don't give a shit. Okay, they don't believe in mutually assured destruction. They believe that, yeah, we can survive it. And we got what? China now, India, Pakistan, North Korea, Iran with nukes since that time. Anyway, yeah, but it's not like we didn't go about being free. I mean, I even remember watching the day after the movie about nuclear war on TV back in 1983. It got you thinking. And then Red Dawn came out the next year. And, but yeah, but we don't have to worry about that no more. I mean, the thing is, if we don't want to have a war, nuclear war with Russia, why don't we get out of Ukraine? Anyway, yeah, the Cold War was something else, but it wasn't. I don't want to say I feel fear, but where it could get completely out of control really quick, and like I say, people are pushing for it. I don't understand today's leaders. I mean, thank God Russia has the ability to restrain itself. I mean, there's bombs going off in Moscow. How long do you think there's going to be before there's bombs going off in D.C.? Especially when these bombs that are going off in Moscow are made in the United States. Remember, they said they will hit command and control centers anywhere in the world. You know, one day the USSR is our enemy. The next day after it collapses and stuff, we're giving money to the USSR to help the people survive and stuff, downsize their military, and now we're enemies with them again. Don't you remember during the second George Bush administration? Hell, Putin went to his Texan ranch. Remember that? But that was what, 20 years ago? Boy, things have changed. Do you want me to do your hair? No, that's all right. I give myself a haircut, actually. Maybe I need to trim it up a little, giving me my high and tight. You know, I can give myself a high and tight on ship when it's rocking. I can give me a high and tight here, but no, that's just down a little bit. At least I still have some hair. All my other brothers are going bald. My grandma helps me edge up people's lives. We are a close family. That's good. That's good. You know, we need people that love each other again. You know, we got families now because of the 2020 craziness that don't want to have Thanksgiving with some of their family members. Are you kidding me? But see, they created their division they wanted. Please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, I am. Yep, help the channel grow. I'd appreciate it. Because, you know, Jeff Bezos is my best friend. And he helps me as much as he can on my channel. All I know is I know what my potential on my channel is when the algorithm falls asleep for a while. So anyway, I appreciate everybody. The pandemic ruined lives. Yeah, it did. It just turned people against each other. I mean, freedom of choice. The government's not allowed to mandate anything to us. What I mean by this is the thing, too, about the shots and the medical tyranny they created for us. Back after World War II, during the Nuremberg, the Nuremberg trials and stuff, they came out with this thing called the Nuremberg Code, which made it illegal, which protected every world citizen from medical tyranny. I guess when you don't teach history no more, you can get by with that. People, oh, no, that was never passed. Well, after what the Jews went through, hell yeah, it was passed. They could vaccine. The COVID vaccine was good. I don't know. See, I went to work every day I had to. I never social distanced. I never wore a mask. I went the opposite way in the lines in Walmart and those stores. Uh, I never got a shot. Never got sick. But I'm still here. So anybody can tell me how that's possible who believe that the whole world was going to die if they didn't get a vaccine. The thing is, with the pandemic they had in 2020, back in the early mid 1990s, I studied for a year the 1917 and 1918 Spanish flu in depth, very much in depth. And let's just say that it wasn't connecting the same dots. And that's all I got to say about that. So, because I know people have a variety of opinions on that. But, we all pay consequences for our actions. And if you took an action and you're suffering consequences from them, it's not my fault. If I refuse to do an action and I suffer consequences from it, that's my fault. But I don't think it's to separate people from wanting to have Thanksgiving dinner together. Listen, I am leaving because you are allowing someone to disrespect four Marines. Well, sorry, I haven't been Van Buren, baby. I haven't been watching. Sorry. Hey, as a Marine, you got to learn to be disrespected. Flat out. Okay? You just learn to deal with people calling you names, being disrespectful, doing everything to get under your skin. And then when they got to deal with the combat side, when you go into combat mode, that's when all of a sudden, oh, maybe I went too far. Marines can stand up for themselves, but that pussy would never go into a barracks and insult Marines. That's why you got to remember who it's coming from. You can't get excited about what everybody says because you got to remember who it's coming from. Somebody that couldn't have went into those little yellow footprints and started out their adult life in the Marine Corps. So who cares? If a Marine can't get called, taken a name, he's not very damn tough. Because I know my drill instructors called me a lot of names. Just, it shouldn't bother you. Like I say, I feel confident as a Marine. I was a good Marine. I did my job good. I did it well. Okay? I don't have nothing to regret about it except maybe following some politicians. But anyway, okay, I'm not going to sit there. I don't care what they say. A lot of people don't like Marines. I'll tell you, one of them I had to deal with in my first 4 years was terrorists. They definitely didn't like Marines. So anyway, it's okay. The enemy don't like me. If they want to sit there and get on there, that means they're the enemy. And they're allowed to hate us, okay? They are allowed to hate us. That is their God-given right. Their freedom of expression. Whether I agree with it or not, I don't really care. Can they do anything about it? No. He can insult me all he wants behind a fake name on YouTube. But if he had to come meet me face to face, it never happened. Okay, beta males are tough on YouTube, on social media, hiding behind fake names and stuff like that. Well, that's Tommy Tough Knuckles. Woo, he might be going to jail. Guy looks like he's never been in a fight before in his life. But he calls himself Tommy Tough Knuckles. See, you got to remember who it's coming from. Somebody who hates themselves, is envious of you, even if you have nothing, because you accomplished something. Okay? And any Marine who gets insulted by somebody, they realize why. Because we're the best. We're the best of the best. I used to think the British Royal Marines, I was always thought, until I trained with them and met them, I always thought they were the best. Nope. We were the best. And who else are people jealous of? Who else do people tease? Who else do they make fun of? So when they do that, it's just basically a compliment. Okay? I'm from a family of Marines, and you fit the description. Oh my God, my kids all the time. Daddy, we're not a Marine. And they were girls, right? Daddy, we're not a Marine. I don't know. Like I say, you can turn a civilian into a Marine, but you can't go the other way around. A Marine never turns back into a civilian again. I tell you what, though, I have outgrown some things. Some things have passed. I don't jump in my sleep anymore. My wives I had always say, you jump in your sleep so much. Anyway. You Marines, okay, Google's in here, everybody. I'm not erasing messages. Google's in here, so watch what you're saying. I'm a Marine, say hi. So watch what you say, they're erasing messages. Jeff Bezos, my best friend, is making sure that everybody's behaving themselves here. Thank you for your service, well, I appreciate it. But, the thing is, I wish the service we would have done. I don't like seeing in our country what I saw over there. I mean, the attack that we had in Idaho. I still think they're lying about that. I would like to see the police officer's gun that matches the bullet that took this guy out. Because I think he was up there with some other people. And he was a patsy. And those people took him out when they started to leave. That's my theory. But I could be wrong. We'll never hear the truth. But a lot of that seemed like a professional ambush. How does a 20-year-old be able to handle a gun like that? I never knew how much experience he had in doing an ambush like that, a military-style ambush. How can an 18-year-old kid be such an expert sniper that he could outfox the FBI, the Secret Service, and all the local law enforcement and get on top of a roof and take a pot shot at Trump? How the hell is that possible? A trained military sniper would have had problems doing that. And then you had another sniper at a golf course that had been sitting there for almost over a day waiting for Trump to show up at a spare the moment golf. I wish Trump would come out with some of the truth. I mean, you had people in the government that were trying to kill you. Okay? And you're not doing nothing about it. And you sat there and said that they were after us, not you. You were just in the way. Well, if you're not willing to do anything to protect us, you ain't willing to sit there and bring in the light what to protect you. That's their script. Okay, I don't know what happened. He enrolled in the James. Yeah. All I know is there's no way an 18-year-old can outfox the FBI, the Secret Service, the local police officers. He was spotted by civilians and took a shot. And see, this is the thing. When those civilians were filming him, this is what I would have done. Immediately, I would have dropped my fucking phone. And I would have started running towards the roof to draw his attention to me. And started screaming at the top of my lungs to get anybody's attention. There's a sniper on the roof. There's a sniper on the roof. As I was running to get on top of the roof to deal with the sniper. Now, because I'm trained in the Marine Corps, maybe that puts me in a little bit different category to be able to do that. But every American citizen must know it's their duty to protect other American citizens. But nobody did that. But they filmed it. Just like when Princess Di died in the car accident. Everybody had their camera out, and that was back then. Making sure they can get that video that's worth thousands of dollars. See, I'm a person who takes action. I'm not going to wait for, hey, can somebody go do something? And sometimes it's just, because of my training and stuff, yeah, it would have been easier for me. As Marines, you train to run that boat. But anything to draw his fire. I'd rather had him firing at me than the President of the United States. Do you understand? So is that the rantings of a crazy man? Or is that just the rantings of somebody that's had enough? And, all these lies. Anyway, party your asses off tomorrow night. I'm going on for almost 2 hours. Party your asses off tomorrow. Let's have a protest. Let's have a protest for every patriot. Partying your ass off and having a great time and celebrating America's birthday and what America stands for. And letting all our enemies, foreign and domestic, know that us Americans stand together, just like we did on September 12th, 2001. That was a show, a distraction. Okay? And this time, I was a child. Anyway, I got to go. But everybody have a great night. I'm going to do a 4th of July deal tomorrow, a short live stream, where I'm going to, one thing, if you people are here, go to one of my shorts. The one short I would like you to watch is An American Crisis 2, a reboot from last year. Watch that short, share it, and comment on it. I want to hear your comments on it. That was written last year. Please go and watch that video and share it. An American Crisis 2 reboot from last year. And see what you think of it. Okay? I may be a little crazy. I went to the VA, right? To be honest with you. I went to the VA because I was having issues. You know what they told me? Everything's fine. You're in perfect health, mentally and physically. Okay? So, don't know what to tell you. Love you. Good night. And to all. Thank you for everybody being here. Like I say, hit that like and subscribe and the bell notification. Help this channel grow so we can get the truth out. Okay? The one thing is, if all the American people got together on the right side, we could have, I'm losing my battery power, guys. I'm down to 5% battery power. I got to go. Anyway, everybody have a great night. This is Tom with the Lone Wolf. This is Tom with Hidden Truths. I am out of here.